All right, my name is Patrick White. I'm on the Stockbridge Selectboard. The next topic I want to cover is capital projects. Really, capital projects refers to infrastructure. It refers to things like schools, things like water, sewer, road repair, bridge repair, expanding recreational access to our roads to make them a little safer. These are all things that fall under the kinds of capital projects that you typically finance over time. All right. Stockbridge is not unique in its decisions over the last 20 years to defer maintenance, but that came at a cost, really a significant cost. Take the Tuckerman Bridge. That's the one over by the golf course. 10 years ago, we had a study that Tuckerman Bridge needed repairs. Could have been done for a couple $100,000. Whatever reason, folks at the time elected not to do that. And now it's deteriorated to the point where we actually have to repair the bridge at a cost of a couple of $1 million. And that's gotten all the more worse because of inflation. Now, I've been worried about inflation for a long time. So much so that I actually wrote a piece in the Edge, the Berkshire Edge, that you can actually go read because it's still up there online. I just checked. If you search for the word inflation, you'll see my little essay on it. And here's what my concern has been, and continues to be. Since the 2008 financial crisis, money's been relatively cheap. All right, or at least it was. So for a period of about 12 or 13 years, and there were some exceptions to those years, but generally speaking, over that period of about 2009 to 2020, 21, you had an effective federal interest rate of 0. All right, and that meant that on just about any project, you could borrow at 2%. All right, that's changed. We signed some bonds at last Thursday's Selectboard for the $4 million in borrowing that you all approved at town meeting last year, and the rate, not last year, earlier this year, and the rate was 5%. All right, now to put it in perspective, the cost of interest from 2% to 5% is 50% more over the life of a loan. The cost in interest from 2% to 8% is double over the life of the loan. So at every level, the federal government, the state governments, and municipalities, in retrospect, and I know hindsight's 20/20, so I'm not criticizing anybody, but in retrospect, we probably should have funded more capital investments when money was cheap rather than when money was expensive. Because effectively, when it was at 2%, you could have gotten at least 2, maybe 3 bridges for what it costs at 8%, because not only does inflation cost us more in the interest rate, but actually the cost of doing the project is increasing significantly too. So we're getting a double whammy by deferring maintenance or by not repairing our infrastructure when money was cheap. Anyways, why focus on the past? We got to focus on the future. So let's talk a little bit about the capital projects the town has coming up. All right, or should at least consider. All right, one is the new high school. Now the good news in the new high school is that the Muddy Brook Elementary and Du Bois Middle School will be paid for in the next year or two. So that's going to leave room in the budget, if you will, to replace that borrowing with borrowing for the new high school. I did a whole video on the schools, so I'm not going to get into it too much. Unfortunately, we'll borrow at a higher rate than we could have had the district approved the high school at the last vote. Unfortunately, not all the towns did. That was a mistake, I think, but as I said, it's water under the proverbial bridge, and we got to do what we got to do. But at least there is some borrowing capacity that is going to be freed up from the payments, from the completion of the payments on the grade school, on the K through 6, and on the middle school that will allow us to pay for the high school. So what else do we have? Well, we talked about sewer in a prior video. Sewer expansion could cost tens of millions of dollars. Luckily, we can borrow from the state sewer fund, at a rate of 2%. So should the town elect to do that, we can embrace an ordered expansion of the sewer system with new borrowing at 2%. Let's not kid ourselves, though. Even at 2%, spending $30 or $40 million to expand the sewer system will have a significant 20, 30 points increase in the taxes, in the tax base, and basically the tax rate, where we'd embrace just sewer expansion. It's not just sewer, though. We've got a significant number of repairs to the existing water system. All right, I believe we have about half the town, maybe not quite that much, that is on town water. There are significant repairs that system needs. I believe Mike Buffoni has a spreadsheet. He tells me where those repairs could easily be 10 million, maybe more, depending on when we make them, because construction projects are getting more expensive. Might even go up to 20 million. All right. So our share of the new high school is 15 million. We have some capacity in our budget for that because of the schools being paid off that we already funded 20 years ago. But then we've got sewer expansion, we've got water repairs, and of course sewer repairs that I talked about in a prior video. In a prior video, I also talked about the idea of adding some market rate housing for seniors at Heaton Court, building 15 units there, which would get us up to the 30% maximum threshold of what can be market versus affordable in a public housing development. Could easily cost $10 million. Once again, the sooner we start, cheaper it'll be, but that's real money. All right. We've got dredging. Dredging could cost the town $2 or $3 million. We'll probably pay for that over 20 years. We've got the bike path that we're talking about between Pine Woods and Church Street. Easily be $1 million. We've had a whole number of folks in the northern part of Stockbridge talk about how they believe it is unsafe to walk home from Tanglewood to White Pines to the areas around Emerson Lane and Hawthorne Road, Hawthorne Street, Wheatley Drive. But expanding, let's say, a bike lane or some kind of walking path, maybe not a sidewalk itself, could easily be several $1 million. Luckily, we may be able to do some kind of a TIPS program, which is state and federal money that might be able to invest in that area because it's such an important economic driver for the entire county. The point I'm making, though, is that you look at that, there is no magic way to fund all of that through budgetary tricks, okay? Someone mentioned at the last meeting, don't scare the voters. I'm not trying to scare anybody. What I'm still going to point out to you is that, just the 3 bridges, for example, that we still have that need to be repaired, Tuckerman, Curtisville, and the Second Averick Road Bridge, could easily total $6 to $10 million, okay? All these things add up well north of $50 million, even up to $70 million in spending, all right? That's in addition to the regular and ongoing maintenance we have to have for our existing roads and bridges, and many other projects. So let's just recognize that over the next 10 to 20 years, there will be some capital projects we must do. And in addition, some capital projects we should strongly consider doing for a whole lot of reasons that I covered in prior videos. So that's kind of an overview of what the capital budget and the borrowing looks like for the next 10 to 20 years for the town. Thank you.